That summer, the summer all the rules began to change, June seemed to last for 1,000 years. The temperatures were merciless, 38, 39, then 40 in the shade. It was heat to die in, to go nuts in or to spawn. Old folks collapsed, dogs were cooked alive in cars, lovers couldn't keep their hands off each other. The sky pressed down like a furnace lid, shrinking the subsoil, cracking concrete, killing shrubs from the roots up. In the parched suburbs, ice cream vans plinked their baby tunes into streets that sweated tar. Down on the harbour, the sea reflected the sun in tiny, barbaric mirrors. Asphyxiated, you longed for rain. It didn't come. But other things came, seemingly at random. The teenage killer Bethany Krall was one of them. If I didn't know back then that turbulence obeys specific rules, I know it now. Welcome to Oxmouth Adolescent Secure Psychiatric Hospital, home to 100 of the most dangerous children in the country. Among them, Bethany Krall. When I first encounter her, I am 2 weeks into what has been billed as a 6-month posting, filling in for Joy McConey, a psychotherapist who has left the institution on a sabbatical that I assume to be a euphemism for some unspoken disgrace. I have gleaned this much from my fraught fellow workers. I have been assigned Bethany Krall as one of my main cases because no one else wants to deal with her. Bethany has been labelled intractable by everyone who has dealt with her so far, with the exception of Joy McConey, whose notes are not in the file. While I'm not nervous about having Bethany Krall on my list, I'm not enthusiastic either. My perspective on physical violence has shifted since my accident. The facts are stark enough. 2 years ago, on April 5th, Bethany Krall stabbed her mother Karen to death with a screwdriver in a frenzied and unexplained attack. The house was locked from the inside and her fingerprints were all over the weapon. Bethany's father Leonard, an evangelical preacher, was away at a prophecy conference in Birmingham at the time. She did not deny committing the crime, but claimed to have no recollection of it. 2 years into her institutionalisation, Bethany Krall had made 4 attempts on her own life and seriously attacked another patient. She refused to speak about the murder or what triggered it. It was agreed that she should undergo electroconvulsive therapy as a last-ditch resort. The results were described as dramatic. Bethany herself said she felt more alive and insisted she experienced the ECT interventions as positive. But effective though the ECT had been, what prompted her to attack and murder her mother with a screwdriver one April evening remains a mystery. When I arrive in the studio for my meeting with Bethany, a thick-set male nurse is already there, talking on his mobile. Rafiq is tough and alert, but his with-you-in-a-minute gesture doesn't inspire confidence. Then suddenly, far too suddenly, the door is opened and a dark streak of a girl has walked right up to me. Bethany Krall is small, bird-boned and underdeveloped for a 16-year-old. On her head, a tangled mass of dark hair like a child's angry scribble. Her bare arms revealed the usual welter of cigarette burns and crosswise slashes, some old, some more recent. Hallelujah, the new psychiatrist. Good to meet you, Bethany, I say. Gabrielle Fox, I'm new here. I've taken over from Joy McConey. I always start by giving you guys the benefit of the doubt. That means 10 stars out of 10 to begin with, she says, assessing my wheelchair. But you get an extra one for being a spaz. Positive discrimination, yeah? So you're starting with 11. 10's fine, Bethany. In fact, very generous of you. I specialise in art therapy. Her eyes are dark, feline, heavily outlined in kohl. Sallow olive skin, a narrow, asymmetrical face. She's what you'd call striking rather than pretty. Preliminary assessment? She's more intelligent and more verbal than most, but otherwise so far, so normal. The bottom line is I'm here to help you and encourage you to express whatever you want to express here in the... I'm unable to say creativity workshop. It gets stuck in my throat. Here in the studio, whatever it is, no limits. It's an exploration. Sometimes it can take you to dark places, but I'm on your side. A spaz who patronises me, great. Great to have you on my side in dark places, psycho-babbling away. She waggles 2 fingers at her open mouth to indicate disgust. You're down to 5. I can see you don't belong here. She looks at me levelly. So perhaps you should just wheel yourself off into the sunset in that spazmobile of yours before something bad happens. She circles the chair, then stops behind me and leans down to whisper in my ear. So, you've taken over from Joy. Tragic Joy. I guess you've heard all about the distressing way she left. I warned her about what would happen. I warned her. I'm snared by this as she intends, but I know better than to show an interest in my predecessor, so I gesture at the walls. Is any of this work here yours? Yeah, Joy was tragic, but you're tragic too. I mean, you bother with makeup when no one's going to take a second look, are they? No matter how good you look, right? Unless there's some sort of perv. No offence, but hey, Spaz, reality check. I asked if you'd done any of the work here, I say lightly, and you can call me Gabrielle. You must feel like totally naked in that wheelchair. I mean, someone could just tip you out of it. You'll be like a beetle stuck upside down. She contemplates the image for a moment. Sweat pricks in my armpits. She has pinpointed a fear and she knows it. The art group meets here 3 times a week for sessions, but some people prefer working alone. I guess you might be one of them. The content of our sessions is up to you. We could just talk or go for a walk. Go for a walk? Like how? In the grounds? How would it work? Seeing as you seem to be, excuse me for pointing it out, but totally disabled, lower limb-wise. Do I push you in that thing? No need. I will myself. You learn a lot in Spaz Rehab. So what do I call my new saviour? Spaz? Saint Gabrielle? Gabrielle's fine. She thinks for a moment. Wheels. I prefer Gabrielle. She closes her eyes. A moment passes. You're quite a fish, aren't you? She says, her eyes opening again in an unexpected delight. Dark, like night, pools. Quite a mermaid, always in the water. Up and down you go. You like getting out that chair, don't you? It's like being freed from your cage. It occurs to me she can probably smell the chlorine. If I touched your hand, I'd know even more. I didn't even have to touch Joy McConey to know things. I saw what she had coming. I register stuff. Can you tell me more about this stuff you register? She smiles. Seas burning. Sheets of fire. Whole coasts washed away. It sounds like a dangerous world you're describing. It is a dangerous world, and we're in it. There's no escape wheels. Have you heard of the Rapture? Vaguely. I know of it as an element of the faith wave creed brought over by the British citizens who abandoned their sunshine homes in Florida and returned to the UK after the global crash. Tell me about it. It's salvation for the righteous. When the shit hits the fan, the true Christians go straight to heaven in, like, a big airlift. The rest get left behind. Mercy for the pure in heart. Justice for the rest. It's all in the Bible. So tell me what else you're thinking about. Half the planet drowns, I can tell you that. Islands sinking. Coasts getting eaten up by the sea. The land getting smaller. Water sloshing all over it in these giant tsunamis. The temperature zinging up. The stuff on the way, that's just part of it. I've seen it in a quiet room. Earth looks like a gobstopper. You can zoom in. Satellite vision, Wheels. You hear what I'm saying? She's nodding so hard that her whole body begins to rock with the movement. She can't seem to agree with herself enough. It's not just the weather that's causing it. Weather's just like a side product. It's not just heat, it's geological activity, worse than the worst earthquake, belching out these unbreathable, toxic gases. You know why it's so hot at the Earth's core? Because this planet's just a chunk of some supernova that exploded like eons ago. You know what I mean by the Earth core. I mean, its centre. I mean, its soul. I saw it when they zapped me. You're not supposed to remember anything about the shot, right? But I do. My whole body wakes up. I see things, wheels, disasters. I've made notes. Dates, times, places, everything. Just like a weather girl. They should employ me. I'll get paid a fortune. I can see this stuff happening before it happens. I feel it. Bethany has stopped rocking and is looking at me intently. I don't say anything, but an instinct makes me assess the distance between us. Almost as though she's read my thoughts with a swift movement, too sudden for me to react, Bethany has reached out and grabbed my wrist. Let go of me, Bethany. Rafiq has jumped to intervene, but I signal to him that I will deal with this for now. Her face has a mesmerised look. So someone died, she says in her baby voice. Someone died. A horrible death. There's no point telling me he didn't, because I can feel it in your blood. I start to pull away. She tightens her grip. With a practiced movement, Rafika swiftly grabbed her other arm. Easy, Bethany. Let go of Miss Fox now. Smoothly, he pulls off the cap of his belt alarm. And you never got to know him properly, did you? Bethany is whispering. A flashing light in the corridor outside indicates the emergency call has worked. They'll be here in seconds. Again, I try to pull away and fail. Rafiq has a firm hold of her shoulders now, but she's gripped a handle of my wheelchair and barnacled herself to it. The fingers of her other hand, which Rafiq is trying to prise away, now tighten further on my wrist, pressing deep into the pulse. It wasn't fair, was it? It was just the beginning of a beautiful relationship. Offer now, mutters Rafiq, tugging so fiercely at Bethany's arm that my wheelchair threatens to capsize. I try not to scream, try not to think, an upturned beetle. Yeah, a beautiful relationship, right? The best ever. You had 2 hearts and one was gone. Hey, that sucks. The poor, tragic cripple. Finally, Rafiq has pulled Bethany off the chair, released my wrist, and forced her hands behind her back. Roughly, he shoves her against the wall and struggles to keep her in position while waiting for backup. For a few seconds, I'm too disoriented to speak. Then the rage comes in, a big, ugly slub of it. She has hurt me, seen things and said things she shouldn't have. At last the door bursts open and 6 psychiatric nurses pour in, pin her to the ground, while Rafiq stands back. Little bitch bit me, he mutters, wiping at the blood. I think we'll call it a day now, Bethany, I breathe. She seems to find this, or something else, unaccountably funny. In any case, as I leave the room, she laughs and laughs, like the horrible, crazy little girl she is. Thanks to somebody else's misfortune, I have managed to acquire, at short notice, a self-contained ground floor flat in Hadport that is already wheelchair adapted. I'm aware that this represents a kind of jackpot in the disability world and feel duly grateful, but the fact is, there are still times when I just want to die. The sun is back, a relentless fireball. The heat is abrasive. I head for a cafe I've discovered, whose 3 crucial attributes I regularly celebrate: disabled bathroom facilities, a view of the waterfront, and good coffee. Here I settle at a corner table near the window and read Bethany Krall's medical report. The ECT gave her relief from the delusion of being dead, but stimulated a preoccupation, previously either non-existent or dormant, with climate change, chemical pollution, weather patterns, geological disturbances, and apocalyptic scenarios. It was a week ago that I first caught sight of the carrot-haired woman, in her 40s, badly dressed, dishevelled, opposite my flat. When I arrive home from the cafe later that afternoon, I see the same woman again. She's standing on the pavement opposite my flat, her hands hanging loosely at her sides. Once in the house, I glance at her through the window. She's still standing there, motionless, like a mannequin on guard duty. The following week, I'm about to witness Bethany having ECT. My colleague, Mr. Emmett, has been explaining the procedure. I'm putting in an IV of Brevitol, an anaesthetic. As it goes in, Bethany's eyelids close, like those of certain dolls I had as a child, comatose the moment they horizontalise. Dr. Emmett applies gel to 2 padded electrodes and fits a breathing mask over her nose and mouth. He applies pads to her temples and holds them in place. I'm shooting an electric current into her brain now. Although there's still no sign that anything has happened, no convulsions, no twitching, no noise, an unexpected wave of revulsion brings me close to gagging. 5 minutes later, Bethany's eyes flick open and she groans. "Bethany, do you know my name?" I ask. "I saw this giant whirlpool made of wind," she croaks. "It was incredible. South America, Brazil, hurricane, whoosh, up it goes and then it all comes down. A whole lot of people gonna get wiped out." "How do you know this is gonna happen?" "Because I saw it, just now. There's going to be a tornado in Scotland any day now. Check it out. You got a pen? And write down about the hurricane, Rio, on July 29th. It's got to go in the notebook." Later, the evening is still so sun-scorched that the air above the pavement shimmers. I don't see the pale-eyed woman at first. She's standing across the road from my flat, her red hair oddly lustrous. Catching my eye, she raises her hand in a salute. I have mixed feelings about the mentally ill being cared for in the community. The following morning, the radio news contains a story about a tornado in Aberdeen. It happened at 6 a.m. 5 houses lost their roofs and half a petrol station collapsed. I'd like to dismiss the fact that Bethany alluded to it, but somehow I can't. "The tornado in Scotland," I begin, "that one that struck Aberdeen." "A lucky guess," she interrupts breezily. "Coincidence, that's what you're thinking, right?" I smile, but I admit it was odd. She cackles but says nothing. "So this car crash you had," Bethany says abruptly. "Spectacular, huh?" I am confounded. I haven't told her anything about the accident. How does she know it was a car crash? What does she mean by spectacular? Anyway, tell me something, I'm curious. What's it like being disabled? Confined to a wheelchair? "I was going to say challenged," she riposts merrily. "Or differently abled, yeah?" I'm fine with paralysed. She stops and closes her eyes. "He was driving, right?" she says knowledgeably. My brain jams, then restarts with an internal thud, catapulting me into the offensive. "OK, so, tell me more," I say. "Since you know, let's hear the rest." "I can't see the details, but I know the result." "So do I, and so does everybody. Big deal, I think, and move on." But how can she know who was driving? Because men usually drive? Just another lucky guess? "OK," I say. "Here's the short version. It's night time. He's driving, as you suspected. Knew, but it was your fault, right?" It was, in a way, and in another way it wasn't. "So just how paralysed are you?" "My legs don't function. I can't stand up or walk, but I can swim. It's my arms that do the work." She can swim, but can she still have sex? It's the question everyone secretly wants to ask in the normal world. I have no feelings below the waist. I'm what's called a T9 paraplegic, meaning nothing much happening from the belly button down, or thereabouts. I didn't choose this, but I can live with it. Maybe you can understand that. Spur-of-the-moment random actions that have lifelong consequences. The mother she murdered hovers between us, but Bethany resists the bait. "You've been at Oxmouth for 2 years now, but do you understand why you're here?" She laughs, but it's mirthless. I'm here because of people like you refusing to see what's going on even when it's staring you in the face. Much easier to lock me up than to listen to what I'm saying. Suddenly she's on a furious roll. You pretend things aren't happening because that's what you want to believe, and by the time you do, it's too late. The tornado in Scotland, you want to think it was a lucky guess? You're welcome to, but I saw it, and then it happened. But Bethany's inner whirlwind has moved on. She's leaned down, and I feel her breath on the back of my head. This is her favourite way to threaten me. Me getting out of this place all depends on you, Wheels. I say it depends on how good you are at your so-called job. Joy McConey got 9 out of 10, but in the end it wasn't enough. She just wasn't up to it, didn't have the nerve. She's paying for it now. But maybe you'll be the one. Have you ever thought that you were brought here for a purpose? Meaning? Meaning, are you going to help me escape from here or not? I don't reply, just turn and look at her. There's a thunderstorm coming tomorrow. Tell you what, I'll come and watch it from the creativity workshop. She pauses. There's a good view. We could eat popcorn together, Wheels. Cuddle up together and share a Coke like at the movies. And I can feel her grin. You could pretend to be my mum. My boss, Dr. Sheldon Gray, Oxmith's clinical director, has engineered my social debut at the charity function at the Armada Hotel. Big charity bash coming up at the Armada. Be a good opportunity for you to meet and mix, though it's mostly science types. Buffet dinner included. He beams, handing me the invitation. Drinks from 7:30. Thank you, I tell Sheldon Gray. I'd love to come. She shall go to the ball. Since the accident, I have developed a dread of tuxedoed men, women parading the sparklier end of their wardrobes, waiters with drinks and fiddly, experimental-looking things to eat on trays. But I remind myself that if nothing else, I have a mission. To find someone I can interrogate about natural catastrophes, such as tornadoes in Aberdeen, and how one predicts them. The guest list is attached to a notice board on the wall just out of my reach. After a few attempts at grabbing it, I'm about to give up when a large, tall man emerges from the melee of the hall. He strides over, rips the list down and presents it to me with a comedy flourish. "Are you looking for someone on there?" he asks. "Not really, I'm just interested to see who's here." "Well," he says, "there I am. Dr. Fraser Melville, Department of Physics. Pleased to meet you. And you?" "Gabrielle Fox," I tell him. "I'm a therapist at Oxmith." "If you're a physicist, maybe I could pick your brains about something. I have a patient who has a kind of climate and geology obsession. I'll be honest with you, I'm not planning to stay here long. I hate these functions. There's an Indian restaurant across the road that won't poison us, but if you'd rather stay here..." I shake my head. "What you need is food, Gabrielle Fox. I can see you're hungry. May I?" Delhi Dreams is a classic British Indian. Ensconced at a quiet corner table, the physicist tells me that his current branch of study, fluid dynamics, covers a wide spectrum, but in the case of his PhD, involves the kinetics, pressure and flow of ocean currents. There are lots of new theories around at the moment, none of which I can explain without drawing mathematical equations on a napkin and boring the pants off you. So, tell me about this patient of yours. We order poppadoms and a comfortingly aggressive house red, and I tell him about Bethany, who, in a last-minute nod to professional confidentiality, I refer to as Child B. I tell him about Child B's faith wave background, Child B's murder of her mother, Child B's nihilistic delusion of being dead, followed by her breakthrough with ECT, her intelligence, her intractability, her militant cynicism. She claims to have the power to predict natural catastrophes. Meteorological or geological? Both. One day she said, "There's going to be a tornado in Scotland next week." And sure enough, there was. The one in Aberdeen. It's a coincidence. Small tornadoes happen far more often than anyone realises. Case dismissed. And she can sense things in people's blood too, or so she claims. Why not make a note of what she says? Or better still, Get her to write it down. She already does. She has notebooks full of drawings. And there's going to be a massive hurricane hitting Rio de Janeiro next week, on the 29th. She gets very specific. Paracatastrophology. He pulls out reading glasses to survey the menu. It's still the hurricane season. So what are the chances that she's right? 1,000 to 1. I'd be happy to bet our next dinner on it. He raises his glass in a complex toast, which pays tribute to my fabulous dress and its contents, to Child B, and to the vagaries of high and low pressure uniting us. A few nights later, I am having one of my dreams. I am operating on my own lower back. An alarm bell goes off. It's actually the phone. "Sorry to ring you so early, Gabrielle," he says. "You're probably fast asleep, dreaming of new ways to—" "New ways to what?" I ask, picking up. "New ways to intrigue men from Inverness. But listen here. That South Atlantic hurricane your psychotic case talked about? Can you remember when she said it would hit Rio? The 29th. I thought so. Just had to check. What is this? Look at the news and you'll see why. I might just be buying you dinner." According to the TV news, a hurricane that has been brewing in the South Atlantic Ocean is now whirling its way down the coast of Brazil. Its name is Stella. Its mass and speed qualify it as a super hurricane. And it is heading for Rio, just as Bethany said. By the time Hurricane Stella concludes her 2-day rampage, conservative estimates say she has wiped out 4,000 lives in Rio de Janeiro. When I finally get through to Fraser Melville, he assures me that Hurricane Stella hitting Rio on the date Bethany predicted is, to use the jargon, statistically insignificant. Your girl got lucky, that's all. You sound excited. Coincidences are exciting. I owe you dinner. I know the staff at La Brasserie well enough to have a favourite table. When Fraser Melville arrives, he kisses me on both cheeks and apologises for being 7.5 minutes late. Remind me of the statistics of this not happening. Me being late? Very low. His joviality masks an edginess. The hurricane. "I'd like to look at her notebooks, if I may," he says finally. "Out of interest." "Infringement of patients' rights. I'd lose my job. If anyone found out," he says matter-of-factly. Child B's father's church believes in a tribulation. That's the 7 years of hell on earth thing? Yes. Before it kicks in, the good guys get whisked to heaven in the Rapture. Into the clouds and away, leaving your clothes behind and a lot of baffled people. Does your kid go in for this stuff? She was reared on it, but they found a burned Bible in the trash after she killed her mother. She killed her mother? Christ, you didn't tell me that bit. Child B has religion issues, to put it mildly. I point my fork at him. Eschatology. Greek. The doctrine of last things. Correct. If you're an eschatologist and you believe the apocalypse is about to happen, you're happy. You're going to be saved. But as a sinner, how would you spend your last moments on the earth as we know it? I'd do exactly what I'm doing now. Something about the physicist doesn't add up. Are you flirting with me? Well, if I am, you started it. You invited it. Yes, maybe I am. In a safe kind of way. Right. So, being paralysed from the 9th vertebra down makes me a safe kind of girl. I didn't mean that. I meant, the trouble is, in my case, I'm always far too attached to the mammary gland. I noticed. What am I doing, discussing my breasts with a physicist? The fact is, I've been quite reserved on that front since my marriage broke up. How long were you together? 4 years, but we were apart for a lot of that time. Melina would do these long field trips, and then I'd go off to China or somewhere, but there were other factors. And since then, you've been wary of forming new relationships. Everything's been on ice, physically and emotionally. He looks anxious. It will pass. All shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. That'll be 50 quid. We have reached the coffee stage when the manager, Harry, comes up to me. You have a possibly unwelcome visitor. She says she'd like a moment of your time. Dishevelled and defiant, she stands with her hands buried deep inside the pockets of a grubby beige jacket. The red-haired woman. The one who's been hanging around outside my flat. My stalker. She shuffles up, and I see she's younger than I thought. Immediately things fall into place. Of course. Who else could she be? Yes, I say, Fraser Melville, this is Joy McConey, my predecessor at Oxsmith. Joy McConey slides into the chair and begins speaking urgently. I can't stay long. My husband, she explains hastily. He won't want me talking to you, but you have to listen. Bethany Krall's much more dangerous than you think. I didn't see your notes on Bethany, but I'd be very interested to hear what you wrote in them. She feels things. The way things flow. Excuse me, interrupts a man's voice. Then, Joy. He approaches quickly. Let's get you home to the kids now, Joy, he says, grabbing her hand and tugging. He's clearly at the end of his tether. It's okay, I tell the man. I'm interested, please. I'd like to hear what she has to say. Joy, what do you think Bethany did to you? But he's already steering her off. In the doorway, Joy turns. Can't you see what she's doing, Gabrielle? She calls across the room. She's not just predicting things, she's making them happen. The next morning, the physicist arrives at Oxsmith bearing a large square box wrapped in plain brown paper and strapped with duct tape, which he now plonks on my lap unceremoniously and without explanation. I can tell he's excited at the prospect of meeting Bethany, but he's wary too. It's more hospital than prison, right? Most days, I tell him. But it can flip the other way. Bethany is waiting in the interview room. Fraser Melville is a scientist from the university, I tell her. Uh-huh, I'm honoured. Me too, he says, lifting the box from my lap. So much so that I bought this gift for you. It's not my birthday. But when she glimpses what it contains, she stops dead. She's lifted out a large globe made of light translucent plastic. This must be Fraser's way of catering to her climate and geology obsession. She places it on the desk. I can see a struggle going on inside her. I know that her instinct is to articulate something positive, perhaps even blurt out a thank you. But she can't allow herself. Bethany, still silent, gives the sphere a small push, and we watch it spin a slow, elegant rotation. It's pure geography, an unpeopled earth. Is this some kind of sick joke? Bethany begins, and then stops. For the first time, her terrible vulnerability is not hidden, and I can see its rawness. I do jokes, said the physicist jovially, but it's been a while since I did a sick one. It's yours to keep. How often I've returned to that moment, or more precisely to the tentative smile that creeps across Bethany's face as she presses her hands to the sphere. I am in the art studio with Newton, a schizophrenic 16-year-old with gender identity issues. He likes art. For the past hour, he's been working in clay, producing squat, crocodilian figures with gaping jaws and sharp teeth. Like most of the kids, he has a history of violence. It's 10 in the morning, and Newton is idly spinning Bethany's globe. You get away from that. I hadn't been expecting Bethany to come in. Rafiq is escorting her, and it's clear from the glow on her face that she's recently received a fresh surge of electricity to the brain. Rafiq and I exchange a look which agrees that one of them has to go. I silently vote for Bethany. The art studio isn't big enough for her and anyone else. Right, Newton. I cut in sharply and motion to Rafiq to move in. Step back from the table now, please, I say. Step right back. She means it, says Rafiq, bracing his torso menacingly. Newton laughs and shakes his head as though this is the funniest thing he's heard in a long time, then thwacks the globe with the flat of his hand. The ball spins at increasing speed, its colours whirring into one another. Another swipe, harder again, and it teeters drunkenly, still spinning wildly. Bethany moves so fast I miss it. With a deep animal shriek, she has catapulted herself at Newton, grabbing him by the hair and wrenching him off the now toppling globe. It crashes to the floor with an inevitability that's almost hilarious, cartoon-like. It lands with a bright smash, bursting into a skitter of shards. Still shrieking, Bethany begins pummeling Newton with her fists. Rafik flings himself down and tries to wrestle the two kids apart. I'm aware of the door bursting open and 6 male nurses rushing in to overpower Bethany. Trying to break my inevitable fall, I push hard at the tabletop, only to collapse with it, sideways, cracking the side of my head on the floor as I'm thrown right out the chair. And then, blackness. My concussion doesn't last long enough, because when I come to, I'm still in the art studio and there's blood everywhere. A wide smear leads to Newton, who has rolled over to the side of the room. He's screaming and clutching his groin, which is blossoming with a red stain like a chrysanthemum. Rafik has Bethany pinned to the floor in an arm lock. Through half-closed eyes, I watch her get stabbed in the buttock with a syringe. Our therapy session is over. On balance, I would not rate it a success. Bethany is in isolation. Her hand was cut by the plastic she used to stab Newton with, but the injury is superficial and treated on the spot. Newton was less fortunate. He's still at St. Swithin's on the operating table having a plastic shard removed from his scrotum. Fraser Melville arrives to cook us dinner. Afterwards, replete, we go out onto my little terrace. "What was life like before?" he asks. When our eyes meet, I realise he really does need to know. There's a photo album on the lower shelf in the living room. Fetch it, and I'll show you. There are pictures of my parents, and some others of me and Alex. "Well, you were never tall," he comments. I smile. "Who's the lucky guy?" "Oh, that's all over," I say. "Were you married?" "I wasn't, but he was." "Oh." "Yes, he'd take off his wedding ring when we were in bed. There are still things I'm not telling the physicist, because I can't. I know the next question, the one that usually goes unasked. I answer it anyway. He was driving. The weather was terrible. I have no memory of how it happened, but we were arguing at the time. I don't tell him the rest, about the impossibility of it all, and about why I was screaming at Alex when he rounded the corner, and why I was still screaming at him, shamefully, uncontrollably, like a woman possessed, when he misjudged the turn, about the slow and quiet way he died. Finally, to distract us both, I talk about the aftermath of the accident. The physicist has taken my hand. He's stroking it. Afterwards, right from the start, I go on quickly to get it over with. I wanted 2 things. I wanted to work again as soon as possible, and I wanted to walk. Just please don't tell me you admire me for my courage. I wasn't going to, he says, standing up and moving his chair away from me. Put your arms around my neck, he says, leaning down. I reach up to him. He's clasping my whole torso close to his. I was going to say, he says, lifting me bodily out of the chair and settling me against him with my knees over the crook of his arm. What I was going to say was, it's one of the reasons I keep wanting to do this. It's one of the reasons I keep wanting to hold you in my arms and then kiss you. Did you like that? No, I hated it, I say. But just to be sure, why not do it again 2 or 3 more times, and I'll let you know my final decision. Later, as I fall asleep next to him with the fan churning the hot night air across our skin, I know something important. I am still a woman whose body can experience physical delight. A woman who has missed, more than she ever admitted, the intimacy, tenderness, and intensity of sex. I wonder how the loss of Bethany's globe has affected her. The part of me that's still professional cares. But the woman who has come back from the hospital with a head injury wants her to stay locked up in solitary confinement for all eternity. And while they're at it, they can throw away the key. The trouble with the principle of time out is that one patient's personal hell is another's idea of a cushy number. Like any bottomless pit, Bethany Krall, freshly ensconced in the peer-free zone referred to as seclusion, is enjoying the increased attention levels she's receiving. Therapist contact has been up to 5 hours a day in the wake of her attack on Newton. Perhaps if you stay in solitary confinement long enough, you'll eventually get an education and become Bethany Krall Professor of Earth Sciences, I suggest. I wonder if that episode reminded you of anything that happened 2 years ago? At home? She smiles patronisingly. You just don't get it, Wheels. Look, an earthquake is right round the corner. It's hitting Istanbul the day after tomorrow. August 22nd. The pressure's building up in the fault line. I can feel it. I'm telling you, I was right about the hurricane. What happens when you see I'm right about this too? It's Thursday, August 21st. I'm determined not to let Bethany's catastrophe calendar, which predicts a massive earthquake tomorrow, spoil my day. So far, I'm succeeding. Fraser Melville and I have been under my duvet for the best part of 14 hours. But it can't last. I can't let it. I say, we have to do something. I agree. So, if it hits tomorrow, I contact scientist colleagues with the other predictions Bethany's made. Without mentioning her, I specify, she can't be named, of course. In any case, it will be scientific suicide. I'm woken at 1 by rain slamming against the windows. Outside, the trees sigh and creak. I settle my head on Fraser Melville's solid, smooth-skinned shoulder. I reach out and switch on the radio, turning the sound down low. I get the BBC World Service. The night ticks on. I am just drifting back to sleep when there's a news flash. I turn up the volume and we take in the news. I feel oddly calm and in control. Whoever we told, they'd never have believed us, I murmured. At 3:30 there's an update. Reports about the extent of the damage are confused, but the quake, whose epicentre is in the Sea of Marmara, just outside the city, measured 7.7 on the Richter scale. Estimates say tens of thousands will be dead or injured and trapped. There's no rule book on how to behave in these circumstances. Fraser Melville leaves the house before me. At 9, I leave for work as usual, because I don't know what else to do. By the time I get to Oxsmith, I'm ready to smash something, which is ironic, given that my morning is taken up by 2 sessions of anger management in which I must try to pass on advice and wisdom that I am catastrophically failing to heed myself. I am frantically plotting my next move, which is a trip in the lift to my boss's office, because saying nothing about Bethany's prediction is no longer an option. I know Sheldon Gray is going to take this badly, and already I am despising him for it. Dr. Sheldon Gray is fully dressed in a pink shirt and pink and grey tie. The smooth skin around his clipped goatee looks freshly exfoliated and moisturised. I'm jittery with caffeine. I wanted to talk about the Istanbul earthquake. Terrible tragedy. Appalling, yes. Hassan Emmet has family nearby. He's taking time off. No flights going there at the moment, but he's managed to get one to Athens that's leaving around now. Drove up to Gatwick first thing, called me from there. Frankly, I doubt we'll get him back. Turkey's going to need all the trauma counsellors it can get. So we'll be stretched here again, I'm afraid. Anyway, you wanted to say? Bethany Krall. His face tightens and clouds over. But before he can protest, I get straight to the point. When I explained that Bethany Krall apparently made an accurate prediction about the quake, as lightly as I can, which is not very because I am actually scared and angry and can't be bothered to hide it, he starts rocking in his chair. When I mention Hurricane Stella, another prediction, Sheldon Gray twitches his head in the same way a cow shakes off flies. I realise that he respects me some 60% less for having raised the matter. Gabrielle, I am shocked and disappointed and, yes, I'll say it, appalled. I had thought more highly of you. Look, you can be sure Bethany told Hussein all this nonsense too. The difference is, he's a scientist. Let me tell you something you should know about your predecessor. We talked before about her notes and why I removed them from the file. The fact is, they show that Joy McConey became disastrously involved in Bethany's fantasies. She ended up convinced that her predictions were coming true. I'm sorry to tell you, I'm having déjà vu here. But the earthquake, she predicted it to the day. That's simply a fact. Hurricane Stella, too. Gabrielle, have you by any chance heard of the internationally renowned search engine Google? I guess it's another rhetorical question, so I don't answer. Let's just type in Istanbul earthquake predictions, shall we? And then advance our search to specify dates preceding the quake. And look what pops up. Aha, yes, well, no surprises here, Gabrielle, or at least not to me. Just a quick glance at this screenful of information here is enough to tell me that young Bethany Krall may not be alone in having, foreseen this tragedy. I look. There are certainly plenty of listings. Something churns inside me. An amateur geologist from Whitstable, murmurs Sheldon Gray, now determined to enjoy himself. A nun in Prague, quoting the Book of Revelation. We have entered the 7-year tribulation, she says, when the raptured shall ascend to heaven and the sinners burn in hell fire. Well, we're all aware of Pentecostalism being the new European craze. Here's another one. Someone in Utah who works with crystals, calling herself Daughter of the Planet. Crystals are also very à la mode nowadays, I understand. We mustn't underestimate them, must we? He scrolls down. Apocalypse.com. I'm sure if we were to investigate Nostradamus, we'd find a reference there too. I close my eyes and open them again. He is still there. You've been in this business long enough to know the pitfalls, Gabrielle. We all find ourselves vulnerable around some of these very intense young people. Are you saying I've mishandled Bethany's case? Well, what do you think? He asks with a weary sigh. Look, he says, gesturing at his screen. You can see from this that the world is full of people like Bethany Krall. Our job is to free them of their fantasies, not collude with them. And if we can't manage that, Gabrielle, well, we do not have a job. When I drop in on Bethany later that day, it seems she has heard about the earthquake, despite being in seclusion. Jackpot wheels, she greets me. How do you know? It woke me up. I can still feel it. Now are you going to tell me I'm wrong? No, it happened. And are you going to tell me it's a coincidence? She lowers her head so it's level with mine. You've got to get me out of here, she whispers urgently. Can't you see that, you dumb cow? I can see that's what you want, Bethany, I say. But you're in here for your own safety. You're here to get well. You know that's bullshit, says Bethany. Her eyes are darker than usual. I need to get out of here. This earthquake's like nothing. There's way worse coming. I can feel it, yeah? Seriously, it's mega. On October 12th. The big one. I don't want to die in here. I need to get out. You've got to help me. I don't want to drown. Not here. Is it a flood you're talking about then? A flood in the UK? It's more than that. But I don't know what. Her eyes flicker warily and her voice becomes urgent. She seems scared. It's your job to help me, right? So, help me. As I make my way to the lift, Fraser Melville calls. What time do you finish work? 5:30. Can you come to my office at the university? Bring Bethany's notebooks, all of them. Can you get here by 6? When carrying a body up 2 flights of stairs, there's only one convenient method, which is favoured by firemen when they rescue people from burning buildings. Hence the ignominious position I find myself in now, slung over Fraser Melville's broad shoulder like a sack, while he puffs his way doggedly up the steps, the bag containing Bethany's notebooks swinging off his other arm. We stop on each landing so he can regain his breath, and I laugh, because it's either that or cry. Fraser Melville settles me on a beaten-up sofa. There are desks cluttered with cables, computers, compass-like machines with multiple dials, walls plastered with contour maps, computer printouts. Right, I say, my eyes now accustomed to the chaotic sprawl. You've got me here, so now explain. I'm hoping there's a clue in these notebooks. I fish them out of the bag and lay them on his desk. He flips through the pages eagerly, but soon his expression shifts from interest to dismay. It's total chaos. 10 or 12 pages of the most recent notebook, only a third full, are devoted to a series of what I think of as her machinery and moonscape drawings. There is a structure to them. They make no sense to me, but Fraser Melville seems struck by them. Interesting, he murmurs. And what about these ones? I ask, leafing through to show him another Bethany motif. A collection of geometric-looking 5-sided forms packed together in a block. A honeycomb? A multi-story car park? I'm going to run all this by my ex, says Fraser, sighing. But she'll probably say it's Hyesu. What's Hyesu? It's Greek, for a load of bollocks. Methodically for the next 2 hours, with little talking, we go through the notebooks, page by eccentric page. All done, he says finally, setting the last incomplete book down on the desk. I pick it up and rifle through the pages. The very last page is covered in handwriting. August 22nd, Istanbul, earthquake. September 5th, Bangladesh, heavy rains, massive flooding. September 13th, Mumbai, cyclone. September 20th, Hong Kong, storms leading to fires. October 4th, volcano, Samoa. The next event is dated October 12th. It says simply, tribulation. Let's hypothesize that Bethany is picking up otherwise undetectable signals. Let's call them vibrations relating to events that are already on their way to happening. Let's say that in each case she's sensing the beginning of a build-up pressure, whether it's atmospheric or underground. And then let's hypothesize that she's somehow been able to imagine very accurately the time it will take to develop into an event and where it will manifest itself. Just instinctively? He shakes his head. No, there has to be a reason, a physical connection between Bethany and these phenomena. Fraser Melville takes my hand and squeezes it, a tiny gesture of closeness that reassures me. When do we start telling people? He sighs. With no scientific evidence to back it up. Look what happened to Joy McConey. Are you talking yourself out of this? He stops and smiles. No, my little sex goddess on wheels. This is my way of talking myself in. Fenton Acres is one of the eco-towns that has sprung up in the wake of the housing crisis. The church itself, vast and pink, is low-slung with a crab-like shell and a Scandinavian feel. A disco-like hymn is underway. Inside, there is a sea of people swaying to the music. Leonard Krall is wearing a dove grey suit, very well cut, and has a microphone hooked over one ear. He doesn't look like a man whose wife has been stabbed to death with a screwdriver and whose daughter is possessed by Satan. He rocks his whole body as he sings, a man who knows who he is and why he is here. His passion is intimate, almost sexual. When he speaks, it is with quiet force. We shall be among the saved, and we do our best to turn the hearts of all those we know and love who have not yet found his grace towards God, so that they too shall be saved. We don't want anyone to suffer on this earth during the end times. We want them to repent their sins and rise and be raptured alongside the righteous and rejoice in the return of the Messiah. And he shall come for us, oh yes, make no mistake, he shall come. After the service, I roll my way past the clusters of men and women and teenagers chatting energetically, flush-faced. "Welcome," says Krall, pulling up a chair, getting down to my level and shaking my hand with the confident grip of a people person. "It's great to see new faces. Are you local?" "Leonard Krall." "I'm Penny," I lie. "Can I have a word with you when you've said your goodbyes?" "Sure thing, Penny. Give me 10 minutes. 15 minutes later, we are alone. "So, Penny, talk to me." "The tribulation. Does it have phases?" "Well, you're right in there with the big questions, aren't you?" "Phases, yes. In fact, some Christians believe it started already." "I take it you believe in evil?" He laughs. "Too right I do." "But can evil be innate? I mean, this idea of innocence and corruption. Can a child be naturally evil?" "She can be visited by the devil." "She," I say. There's a tiny silence. Leonard Krall stiffens imperceptibly and his gaze withdraws inward. "The devil is powerful," he murmurs finally, almost to himself. Then he reaches in his pocket and hands me his card. "Take this, Penny," he says, "in case you'd like a longer chat." I take his card and thank him. I fumble in my handbag for my wallet, which I promptly drop. Gallantly, he picks it up. And then, less gallantly, and to my shock, he flips it open. My driver's license stares at us both. In a split second, everything has changed. "Gabrielle Fox," he reads aloud. "It's a pity it doesn't give your profession on here, Miss Fox, but I would guess journalist." "I'm not a journalist," I mumble. "Please, give me my wallet back." His smile has vanished. "They still come sniffing around here every once in a while, but none of them sunk this low before," he says, indicating my wheelchair. "Penny." I'm paralysed. "And I'm Mickey Mouse. I have nothing to say to you." His face is white. "Except who the hell are you?" I was not expecting sudden rage on this scale, and it scares me. For a stomach-turning moment, I think he's going to hit me. He's manoeuvred his way behind me and snatches the handles of my chair. He's wheeling me out. The automatic doors open. Without a word, he pushes my wheelchair faster than it's ever been pushed down the ramp. "We Bible men are fond of miracles, Miss Fox," he says. He's beginning to tip my chair forward. "Let's see if we can make the lame walk, eh?" I let go just in time to break my fall with my hands. I'm sprawled on the ground. There's a searing pain in my left palm. I see blood and gravel and chopped up skin. He laughs. "Nice acting." "I'm your daughter's therapist," I blurt. "She's been foreseeing natural disasters. She predicted Istanbul. Can you explain that, Mr. Krall?" "Oh, I can explain it all right," he says. A shudder runs across his features. "Or rather, the devil can. It's him you should be talking to. He's the one in charge of Bethany." "She's your daughter." "Not anymore. I pray for her soul every day of my waking life. You're being manipulated, Miss Fox, and you can't even see it." By the time I've recovered enough to move, he's gone. Fraser Melville is waiting for me at home with a bottle of champagne and a thin, unhappy smile. "To celebrate the end of my career as a credible scientist," he announces as we clink glasses, and he sets about cleaning up my scraped hand. In our different ways, we are in despair. "You sent the emails." I sent some of Bethany's moonscape with machinery drawings to Melina. She has an ex-colleague with connections to Harish Modak. "And you're sure that all these people are open to ideas that you can't prove?" Harish Modak, if Melina's contact takes it seriously and passes it on, is someone who just might take a chance. out of pure curiosity. He's maverick enough. He doesn't really give a toss what the rest of science thinks of him, but has huge influence. So what now? We consume more alcohol, and you tell me about Leonard Krall. The next morning, my boss gets straight to the point. He's received a phone call from Bethany's father. A phone call of justified complaint. There's nothing to say, so I don't. Can you deny it? He tipped me out of my wheelchair. It's as weak as it sounds. Yes, so he told me. He apologizes for that. Nevertheless, it doesn't exactly cancel out what you did, now does it? Did he ask after Bethany? No. She murdered his wife. He has a right to keep his distance. Anyway, this isn't about Bethany. It's about you. You have 4 weeks. And please don't ask me for a reference. Your contact with Bethany Krall is at an end. With Indian takeout steaming on the passenger seat of my car, I drive over to Fraser Melville's home. He's pale-faced and monosyllabic. We pick at the food, straight from the cartons, almost in silence. I do not dare ask the question because I can read the answer on his face. I printed out the replies I got, he says eventually, such as they are. I roll over and take a look. He has printed out several separate emails. Dear Fraser, I read your email with great amusement and have passed it on to Judy because she's always assuring me we scientists are a humorless bunch. Nice one. Anyway, I look forward to hearing more from your mysterious oracle with interest and will mark up my calendar. Best wishes, C's. P.S. Since you ask, I would estimate the chances of a cyclone hitting Mumbai on the date you mention to be 5,380 to 1. The 2nd. My dear, dear Fraser, hello from the Arctic. If you are serious about these predictions being bona fide science, and from the tone of your mail, I fear yes, you are, then this is a big professional mistake, whether your source is right or not. As your friend, as well as your ex-wife, I will now do what I hope you would do for me. I advise you, dear Fraser, to not take this further. You have a wonderful reputation in the field. In any case, I promise you, with hand on my heart, I will not pass this on. I am sure you have been under strain with your mother's death. The worst are the ones who didn't reply, says Fraser Melville flatly, because I know what they're thinking and what they're saying to each other. You're regretting it? No. Yes. Not if she's right. But if she's wrong, well, of course, I just have to plead insanity. At least I'll have a shrink to back me up. An art therapist. He smiles forlornly. Beggars can't be choosers. But a few days later, he rings in triumph. A cyclone's heading from Mumbai, due to hit tomorrow, just like she wrote in the notebook. September the 13th, she predicted it over a month ago, maybe more. No weather forecaster can do that. Do you feel vindicated? Don't you? No, I decide. Just sick. And somehow responsible. I'm contacting people about Hong Kong and Samoa, but I'm not hopeful. The people I tell either think I'm nuts or they're jealous because they reckon I've invented a new machine that can detect early warning signals. Some days after the cyclone has wreaked its worst, killing 400 Indians, I drive to Fraser Melville's house. He opens the door in silence. He's lost weight, and his clothes hang loosely. He doesn't bend to kiss me, and there's no welcoming touch. I can feel he's withdrawing from me, and perhaps even keeping something crucial to himself. BBC World is on. As I had already heard on the news, much of Hong Kong Island is on fire. A gas blast caused a high-rise to topple, killing 80. I've had a call from my head of department yesterday, he says. He's not happy about the fact that I've been making scientifically unfounded statements. A few emails to colleagues. It's an abuse of my university status, according to him. I'm persona non grata. And Harish Modak? I ask. There's an uneasy silence, which I take as a no. The next morning, when I arrive at work, I'm informed at reception that Dr. Sheldon Gray wants to see me immediately to discuss an incident involving Bethany Krall. What happened? She got hold of a metal fork and stuck it in a socket. Passed out, of course. Burns all over her hands and up her arms. Miracle she's not dead. Rubber soles. Oh, and before all that she shaved her head. They're keeping her in hospital. Something's up, I can feel it. He eyes me defiantly. I'm having her transferred to Kiddup Manor. Kiddup Manor? Modern psychiatry's death row. You realise what will happen to her there? I say as calmly as I can. They'll pump her with drugs until she's practically a vegetable. He shrugs. A safe vegetable. How long will they keep her in St. Swithin's? Until the burns heal? Take tomorrow off. You look dreadful. It's late. I hesitate, then call the physicist. His phone is busy, so I decide to drive over. I park opposite. That's when I see her. She's tall and wearing jeans and standing at his window looking out. Blonde, trim, young. She moves away from the window and over to the sofa where the physicist settles next to her, close enough for their bodies to touch. They're looking at something together. Heads lowered over the table. He wants to impress her. It makes sense. I'm not a real woman anymore, and I was wrong to think I was. My mistake was to assume that there were no other women in his life. Women with elegance and slim, fully functioning legs. Can you die from jealousy? It feels like you can, and that I will. When I finally dare to look at the window again, there's an almost sick relief in seeing my worst fears confirmed. I am free to drive home now, because the physicist has done what couples do when they require privacy. He has closed the blinds and blocked out the world. I will recognise passion, sexual fulfillment and romantic love as mirages that may have fooled me once but will never do so again. And I will forget that Bethany Krall is being transferred to a maximum security hospital, which will feed her heavy doses of narcotics until the end of what will probably be a short life. Today, pig sick and fallen from life's untrustworthy grace, I will be indulgent towards myself. Tomorrow, I hand in my notice at work, inform my landlady, Mrs. Zarnak, that I'm moving out, stop caring about the fate of Child B, banish Armageddon, and brainwash myself into erasing the physicist from my psyche. That, at least, is the agenda I have mapped out for myself before I settle down with a towel to dry my hair and check my phone messages. Wheels, pick up the phone. She is calling from an anonymous number which I assume to be St. Swithin's Hospital. I need you here. You've got to come and get me out. It's happening. It stinks of rotten eggs. We're gonna drown. The next message kicks in before I have time to absorb the fact of Bethany's call. But in the split second before the physicist speaks, I know it's him. We have to talk. Something's come up. We need to rethink things. Just call me right away, can you? I call the hospital. Bethany's condition is stable. She's heavily sedated and on painkillers. She has second-degree burns on her hands and arms from her attempts at self-electrocution. 10 minutes later, preparing to leave, I notice that the answering machine light is still winking. I hesitate. I press play. I didn't finish what I needed to tell you the other night, Joy McConey blurts. I need to see you. I have to warn you what'll happen. She leaves her mobile number. Ring me when you get this. There's something you have to know about Bethany. Apart from a couple of mothers with toddlers over by the sandpit and the odd dog walker in the distance, we are the only people in the park. So tell me what's on your mind, Joy. When I worked at Oxmith, Bethany wanted something from me that I wasn't prepared to give. But I don't want you to be in that situation. That's why I've been following you and why I rang you. I don't want anyone to go through what I have. What did Bethany want so badly? She wanted me to help her to escape. I wouldn't, of course. When I refused to get her out, she said something terrible would happen to me. It wasn't a prediction. It was a threat. What did she say would happen? With a single swift movement, she raises her hand to her head, and as though removing a hat, lifts off her hair. I stare at the plain white dome of her baldness. Cancer. The doctors have done what they can, but it's terminal. From the sandpit, a child has materialised. He stares at the egg-balled woman on the climbing frame, at my wheelchair, and angles his mouth to form a terrible wail, for which I do not for 1 microsecond blame him. I make it back to the corner of my street in 6 minutes, shaken to the bone. In the driveway stands Fraser Melville, the very last person I want to see. Where have you been? I was at the park, not that it's your business. I need to see Bethany. You can't. She's in hospital with burns. I tried to get hold of you last night to tell you, but I couldn't reach you on the phone. How come? He pretends to look puzzled, but when it comes to faking, he's an amateur. I work late at the office. I don't like being lied to. He looks at me with aggression. Can I ask what the hell's got into you? Just tell me the truth. Don't you think I deserve it? He looks down and flushes. Yes, but you have to trust me. Anyway, I still need to see Bethany. Why? I snap. Take me to her and you'll find out. The self-harm ward of St Swithin's Hospital is an environment of complex despair, of extreme and conclusive failure. Bethany has a room to herself. Her newly shaved head barely dents the pillow. Wheels, Bethany croaks, her eyes still closed. Then she opens them blearily, blinks them into focus. She glances at the physicist, who is now searching his briefcase for something. She doesn't seem to recognise him. Hey, you! Will they give me volts at Kiddup? She asks the physicist. I need volts. I'm not from Kiddup. I'm Fraser Melville. We met before. I've seen your drawings. He fishes some papers from his briefcase and holds one out in front of her. I'd like to decipher this image, find out what it signifies. This vertical line. Can you tell me what it is? Where does it go to? Underground? All the way in, like right under the skin. Her eyes seem to turn inward. I guess it must be the bottom of the sea. She shivers and looks scared. It's freezing, like ice. And if you look up, asks the physicist, scanning Bethany's features urgently. There's something like scaffolding. It's huge. She seems to find the image distasteful. It's made of iron. It's dripping. What else? A crane. And it stinks. Rotten eggs. Dead jellyfish. It's gross. We sit in silence for a moment. Well, in that case, I'll be leaving you, the physicist says abruptly. And he stands up to go. So, what now? I ask. I have followed him out to the corridor, but he doesn't stop walking. I'm going to Southeast Asia. I'll be out of circulation for a while. He glances at me sideways, uneasy. Now that he has got what he wanted, it seems he can't get away fast enough. Southeast Asia? What sort of trip is this? I'm taking time out. Today never happened. Next time you see me, you'll understand. What do you mean, today never happened? He looks at me with an odd thoughtfulness. Do you trust me? I laugh uneasily. Do you think I'm stupid? I'll see you when I see you. How can you do this to me? I whisper. The new expression on his face, pity, is as unmistakable as it is appalling. He says, because I have to. I arrive home with a mission. I make coffee and switch on my laptop. Within a few minutes, I've encountered the word clathrate. A clathrate, also known as a gas hydrate, is a thin coating of ice that is developed around a gas molecule. This one, which is associated with ocean bed mining operations, bears a shape familiar to me from Bethany's drawings. A hexagon. When I learn what is trapped inside these ice hexagons, I put my hand to my neck. A violent pulse sets up in my throat. Methane? At what point did the physicist make the connection between Bethany and the most dangerous greenhouse gas of all? I learned that there are millions of square kilometres of it locked, frozen, onto the sea floor all around the world in a form of a crust. Water pressure and cold temperatures are what keep it down there. Without those, it would shoot to the surface in huge sheets and burst into flame. I type in methane again, but this time on a hunch, team it with catastrophe. After scrolling through hundreds of links, I come across an image that startles me. It shows a geopaleontologist proffering, in a gloved hand, a large white lump that resembles a snowball. The snowball is on fire. You can tell that the sight of the flaming white lump delights her. She could be in love with it. The geopaleontologist's name is Dr. Kristin Jónsdóttir. She is Icelandic. The blonde-haired Kristin Jónsdóttir, Ph.D., expert on the contents of prehistoric oceanic mud, has a bone structure and a tilt to the head, and, in particular, a pair of legs that I recognise. The night I first met Dr. Fraser Melville, he saw I was struggling to reach the guest list on the wall, and he came and helped me. It seemed an innocent coincidence. What if he already knew about Bethany? What if his lover, Kristin Jónsdóttir, had sent him? It doesn't take long to trace her via a friendly man in a research laboratory in Reykjavik. Sure, he can give me a mobile number. The phone rings 4 times before she picks up. I apologise for speaking English and introduce myself. I'm sorry, Gabrielle, I know exactly who you are. I have heard about you from Fraser, but I have nothing to say to you. But I need to know, forgive me for doing this, but goodbye, Gabrielle. And she hangs up. I feel more humiliated than I have ever felt in my life. Over the next 2 days, frustration, depression, anger, self-pity and self-loathing dominate. In the evenings, I imbibe excessive quantities of alcohol, and in the mornings, I feel even more terrible. I'm emptying my dishwasher one morning when the phone rings. It's a terse and furious Dr. Sheldon Gray. Bethany Krall has disappeared, he announces, from the hospital. When I ask for details, the word he uses is abducted. 10 minutes later, the doorbell rings and I open it to find a young policeman. Let me give you 5 minutes to get ready, and we'll head down the station for some paperwork and an interview with one of the detectives on the case. Detective Kavanagh tells me that there were no signs of a struggle, so the likelihood is that Bethany's abductor was someone known to her. The detective tells me that Dr. Fraser Melville's name appears in the visitor's log at Oxsmith. He has taken time off work at very short notice. Where has he gone? As far as I know, he's away on a field trip. We have a record of his having arrived in Thailand yesterday. If Bethany was taken early this morning, Fraser Melville didn't do it. Nothing fits. So, who took Bethany? You are acquaintances with Dr. Melville, you say. You told him all about her? I didn't breach patient confidentiality, if that's what you mean. He met her once, at my suggestion. He wanted to encourage her interest in natural science. I am not much of an actress, but I tell him anxiously that I want to help find Bethany and that he must, ask me anything. Are you aware that Dr. Melville took Bethany's psychotic visions seriously enough to contact scientist colleagues about them, and that this caused his superiors to feel alarm on his behalf? Bethany's very convincing, I insist. Her delusions seem to be infectious. Dr. Melville was going through a very tough time, personally. His mother died not so long ago. Mrs. Zarnak, your landladies seem to think... I laugh and shake my head. Oh, poor Mrs. Zarnak has too much time on her hands and a rampant romantic imagination. Do I honestly look like I'd have a sex life? This seems to stump him. Dr. Sheldon Gray has told me about your unusual intervention with Leonard Krall. Do you normally visit the parents of your patients incognito? No. So why on this occasion? I suppose I thought that her father might hold some sort of clue to her recovery. And did he? He looks up sharply, and I meet his stare. He didn't. No. When I get home, there is a letter from the regional authority on the mat. I have been suspended from my post, with immediate effect. When a text message signals itself on my mobile as I prepare for bed, I know that I have been waiting for it. It's from an unknown caller. Thornhill Station, parking lot, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Nothing to police. Wary, stirred, and paradoxically elated, I swiftly pack a suitcase. What am I doing? When the blood is in charge, logic doesn't get a word in. But hope does. And it's the fiercest imperative I have felt in a long time. Fear and anticipation make for a motivating cocktail. The result being that I am in Thornhill by 9. I park at the station and I switch on the car radio, wondering if there might be more news about Bethany. Just as the financial expert is launching into an analysis of buyback mortgages, the door of the newsagent's opposite opens to disgorge a man in baggy jeans and a red and black T-shirt carrying a bumper pack of Haribos. He heads for where I'm parked. "Gabrielle Fox?" he asks. I nod. "Then I'll join you in the car if I may." He goes round to the passenger door, opens it, flings the Haribos carelessly onto my lap, and then settles next to me. "Well, I hope those aren't for me," I tell him, "because I don't like licorice." "They're for Bethany. I'm Ned Rappaport. I'm a climatologist." "How is she?" I ask, turning on the ignition and pulling out. "Mad as a box of frogs. But no surprises there, right?" "Energy levels?" "To be honest, she's been getting pretty out of control. Keeps demanding volts. We're hoping you'll exert a calming influence." I tighten my grip on the wheel as I assess what he has said. "So, the reason I was contacted is that you can't handle her." "I'm sorry, but we discussed it. No one was happy about it, but the consensus was it was necessary." "Who is we?" "Me, Fraser, and Kristen Jonsdottir. She's the—" "I know who she is," I interrupt. "I looked her up." "So how did you get dragged into all this?" "Fraser and I go way back." "So where is he now?" The physicist, the bruise I keep pressing. "He stopped off in Paris on his way back from Bangkok. He phoned Kristen last night. He should be on his way." I am cudgelled by jealousy. The physicist called Kristen Jonsdottir rather than me, and he was using me all along, and now he is using me again. I am expected to collude. For the sake of a world I care less and less about the more I know it. We cross the M25 and travel up to Norfolk, somewhere between Ely and King's Lynn. The sun is lurking behind a slur of congealed grey cloud. We turn down a rough track. We're round a bend, and the landscape opens up to reveal the shallow slope of a low hill and a grey stone house. She is there. Her back is turned. She is talking to someone on the phone, but I recognise her immediately. "That's Kristen," says Ned. I'm hoping that the person she's talking to is Harish Modak. Modak, the planetarian, the eco-movement's eminent grease. Kristen Jonsdottir turns and smiles. Ned waves back. "Modak is our biggest hope at the moment. If we can get him on board, we'll get the attention we need." Ned Rappaport pushes open a dark door to reveal a cavernous living room cum study, fetid with age. "Now, according to my research, you won't cooperate fully with anything until you've had a coffee. I'll get some in the works." He tosses the Haribos onto an overstuffed green sofa, its upholstery burst at one end, and heads for the door. Near a fireplace, there's a tattered, green-striped chaise longue. I manoeuvre out of my wheelchair and onto the chaise longue. My eyes are still adjusting, so I don't see her come in. Until... Boo! I jump and stifle a scream. "Scared you there, Wheels?" With her scalp speckled with a thin growth of stubble, Bethany Krall resembles a manic voodoo doll. "Bethany, I'm glad to see you." "Watch out, we'll be lesbian lovers next." Catching sight of the Haribo packet on the sofa, she leaps over, snatches it up, and starts tearing it open with her teeth. She finds a spiral of licorice. "This place is like a 5-star hotel. Want one?" "No, thanks, and go easy on the sugar." She rolls her eyes. A grey car comes into view. "Here comes Loverboy," murmurs Bethany, following my gaze. I want to look away, but I can't. He pulls up, parks, and gets out. Kristin Jonsdottir runs towards him. There's no mistaking the look on her face. My face used to light up like that once. "Look at them. He can't get enough of her," comments Bethany matter-of-factly. "Coffee," announces Ned, entering with a small tray. "And I see you found the Haribos, Bethany. Hey, is everything okay? We were just talking about sex," says Bethany with enthusiasm. When the door opens, I can't look, but I know it's the physicist. I can feel him standing in the doorway, his height filling the frame. "Gabrielle, thank God you're here. It all worked out." Fraser Melville sounds excited. "I was just telling Gabrielle about you and Kristin," says Bethany. She grins, wide, like a gargoyle. "Oh, she's angry, Fraser, I'm warning you." Thrilled with herself, she snatches up her Haribos, runs across to the doorway, ducks under the physicist's arm, and out of the room. The physicist and I look at one another. "Gabrielle," he says, "we kept you in the dark to protect you." Like hell. I take a deep breath. I can feel the physicist looking at me. Whatever I say will sound bitter and self-pitying. I have my pride. I close my eyes and take a deep breath. Then the door opens and Kristin Jonsdottir walks in, smiling. She comes towards me, her hand outstretched. "Gabrielle, I am so pleased to meet you at last." "Gabrielle," says the physicist, "this is Kristin." She even looks happy, because it dawns on me the physicist never even told her we were lovers. "So, Kristin, what did Harish Modak say?" "He's still reluctant." "I'll go and call him," says the physicist. He probably can't leave fast enough. "Ned, perhaps you and Kristin can fill Gabrielle in some more?" "Sure thing," says Ned, hauling a laptop from the floor and booting it up. "We need more information in order to locate the site of this possible disaster," says Ned, clicking his mouse. "Take a look at this." One of Bethany's drawings appears on the sheet. "Images like this are what make us concerned that she's seen the beginnings of a submarine landslide triggered by activity at one of the methane rigs, but we don't know which one." "A fissure and a flashpoint," says Kristin Jonsdottir. "To free the frozen methane from the ocean floor, they'll have drilled beneath it horizontally and forced a pressure change. But if they've miscalculated what's down there and the interference has widened the gap that's already there, the pressure will build up. When it reaches a critical point, there's a risk that huge amounts of this frozen methane, far more than they ever intended, could be unleashed." Kristin gives me a strange, supplicant look. I was hoping that with your help, Bethany might be able to remember some more. "If you want more information from Bethany, she has to have more ECT. Do you realize that? It's the only way." There is a silence. Yes, they do realize. If I'd been told a few weeks ago that I would find myself in a creaking farmhouse unpacking medical paraphernalia in a room where illegal electroconvulsive therapy would be performed on a matricidal teenager I was suspected of abducting, I'd have had trouble believing it. But here I am. The anaesthetist looks young enough to be straight out of medical school. "Is this guy safe?" I asked Ned when Kristin Jonsdottir has melted discreetly upstairs and Fraser Melville has led the medic to the parlour. He doesn't answer. I sigh. "I'll need the pictures of all 4 rigs ready so we can look at them immediately afterwards. I'm hoping she'll spot a detail that clinches it." "Right, I'll go summon the princess." When Bethany comes downstairs, she's hungry for action. She greets the medic with a "Yo, Doc." He returns it with a baleful look. "Ready?" he asks. She nods. For both of them, it's a familiar routine. He puts the anaesthetic bag over her nose and mouth, then wipes her temples with a wet sponge. A few moments later, Bethany's eyelids have closed and she has succumbed. I hold my breath. The medic flicks the timer on and applies the electrodes to her temples. He presses them in place, but after a few seconds he frowns as though dissatisfied. Her brain's built up a resistance, he murmurs. Within 2 minutes, Bethany's eyes have flickered open. Didn't work. Give me more of it. A proper shot of it this time. Give me 30 seconds. He blinks and addresses his answer to me. I'll give her 20. 20's not enough, Bethany protests as she succumbs to the anaesthetic. What kind of doctor are you anyway? He plugs her mouth with a rubber guard and she is silenced. One who's worried about being struck off, I suggest. His smile is dry. Too late for that. I killed someone. With a machine like this? Nope, a more up-to-date version. I won't go over 20 seconds. Want me to stop? No, I say, detesting us both for it. You're here now. Just get it over with. He presses the switch. At the end of 20 seconds, a tiny noise escapes from her, a high sigh like the start of a groan. Do you think it's worked this time? He stands up, then heads for the door. I'm not staying to find out. Please, can't you even wait till... But he has left the room. After 5 minutes, with the sound of the medic's car starting in the background, Bethany's eyes flicker open. She looks at me fuzzily and speaks from the side of her mouth. Hey, Wheels, it didn't work. I find the others assembled in the kitchen, deep in gloomy discussion. Harish Modak rang, says Fraser Melville, looking up. He's on his way. Let's talk to Bethany, I suggest. Maybe some of it got through. She is sprawled on the settee. I told you, Wills, I need 30 seconds. If I'd had that long, it would have worked. You sure you didn't see anything? You know I didn't, she explodes. Because I didn't get enough faults. How dumb are you guys? Look, we've still got the machine. You know how to operate it. Just go for it. You must be joking, Bethany, Fraser Melville blurts. It could kill you. It won't. I say no. Jesus, spits Bethany. You coward. If you can't do it for me, then do it for the sake of all those people you think are worth saving, you dumb cow. Bring it on. Just do it. My final wish, okay? It could be the worst choice I ever make, but in that instant, it's done. Swiftly, I wipe Bethany's forehead with the sponge, grab the electrodes, flick on the timer, apply them to her temples, and shift the switch. I hold my breath as the clock ticks and the electricity floods into her brain. If she dies, they'll call it murder. There's an uncanny silence. Then a catastrophe. With no warning, Bethany's head jerks up with a violent epileptic spasm and her legs and arms start jerking. Fraser Melville shouts to Ned to take her legs and grapples with her flailing arms. Then she flops still. Her chest was heaving before, but now there is no rise and fall. Kristen appears at the door, white-faced and open-mouthed. With her is Harish Modak. The old man is frailer in the flesh than in the photographs I've seen. Eyes which flicker across the room, widening as they take in the carnage. Bethany is twisted, oddly. Blood drips from the corner of her lip. Then Bethany coughs, and my heart flips about like a landed fish. She's blinking. She's alive. From deep in her chest, she draws in a raucous, shuddering breath and coughs again. A huge red chrysanthemum of blood splats onto the floor. I burst into tears. Harish Modak comes over to me stiffly. It's over now, Miss Fox, says Harish Modak. You can relax. I'm nursing my second whiskey, and Harish Modak is installing himself in the living room. We weren't sure you'd come, nor was I. But if Bethany comes up with something definitive, I came here on the understanding that she already had. At the sound of footsteps on the stairs, Harish Modak turns his head to the door. Bethany enters, followed by the physicist. Hi, Wills. I told her to do it, she says, nodding at me but addressing Harish Modak. I made her give me 30 seconds. Ned and Kristen come in quietly and settle in chairs. Harish Modak nods. And was it effective, Miss Krall? I was right in the middle of it. It was like being struck by lightning. It was so cool. Harish's stillness has an intense reptilian quality. Take your time. Describe everything. It's like a giant cover being lifted off a bed. Bubbles and stuff are just like pouring out from the edges. It breaks up and there are these huge white sheets just tearing off and shooting up. It goes on and on. Then there's fire on the water. Then this giant wave swells up. It's like a wall in the sky, higher than the clouds. We have to know where this happens, says Kristen Jonsdottir. We have to identify the rig. The images of the 4 rigs have reappeared on the wall screen. These are the main suspects, says Ned. They're all drilling for methane. See anything you recognise now, Bethany? asks Ned. Anything familiar? Bethany shrugs. Ned moves to the next image. Nothing. In the next image, the windscreen of the manned crane has sunlight on it, making it hard initially to distinguish much beyond the outline of the operator's head. But Bethany is pointing excitedly. That's the one! Ned flicks the screen off. When he speaks, his voice is constricted. It's buried Hope Alpha. Christ, says Kristen Jonsdottir. That's in the North Sea. Buried Hope Alpha belongs to Traxorak, says Ned. I see. Well, this is not good, says Harish Modak. I told you, says Bethany casually. We all look at her. I kept saying it was close. I told you we'd be drowned. I said all along, but no one listened. Story of my life. Can someone explain? I ask. Harish Modak clears his throat. It seems, Miss Fox, that we are faced with the interesting prospect of a disaster which will begin very, locally. A huge underwater collapse will cause a tsunami that will devastate the entire area, making your country the first to be hit. Bethany, I say, my throat is bunching up. You said October the 12th? Did I? For the sake of argument, we should perhaps assume that she is correct again, says Harish Modak, watching Bethany intently. Too right you should, Bethany murmurs. For a long time there is a pensive silence. It's Kristen who breaks it. Harish, it's the 10th. You must help us. To what end? To what possible end? Have you heard of moral duty? Ned speaks calmly enough, but he looks ready for violence. Speaking personally, I would always prefer to know my options, says Fraser Melville, so that I could make my own choices. We don't have the right to deny that to others. Harish Modak does not look impressed. I am glad to be this old, he says, sighing. I would hate to be young. It completely sucks, agrees Bethany. Harish, I say. He swivels his head and frowns. I grab his hand. I need him to witness my fury. Look at me. I felt like a murderer after Istanbul, so did Fraser. If we fail to act now, none of us is any better than any war criminal. Most of all, you, because you're the one with the power to do something. Our job is to warn the maximum number of people, says Kristen Jonsdottir. If a horizontal crack's forming, says Fraser Melville, and loosening the sediment package where they've been drilling, there will be proof of it somewhere. Harish, says Ned bluntly, we'll be needing your clout there too. Let's drink to your health, Harish, and your moral courage. But I haven't. Yes, you have, I say, and we salute you for it. Harish sighs. I feel 1,000 years old. We present the facts and the public can make its own decision. Then we get somewhere safe, fast. Who's we, says Bethany. I'm the one who saw it happening, so don't even think about handing me back to Oxsmith or Kiddup Manor. You know what'll happen there. Are you going to dump me now you got what you need? Flush me down the toilet? Is that your plan? Wheels, says Bethany. When I swivel to face the others, an ache spreads across my shoulders, pressing me down. I shift and straighten. You can't stop doing your job just because someone fires you. I'm doing my job. Ned shifts in his seat but says nothing. I think I'm doing my job because Bethany is my job. And Bethany is all I have left. Having established the principle of her freedom, the human hand grenade disappears into the next room to watch TV, while the others begin an intense technical discussion, orchestrated by Ned. The first priority, he says, is to obtain Traxorax seismic data. I have a stunt lined up involving the marine biologist mate whose house we're in, and a team of his in Greenland, but in the meantime, he clicks the laptop to reveal a screen filled with 8 columns of bullet points. Gabrielle, instead of coming with us to London, you, Fraser and Bethany will need to stay here. We can't risk you being seen, especially not with us. After the press conference, we'll collect you by helicopter. Kristen, Harish, we'll need to leave here within the next couple of hours. The others have left, and it's late. Fraser Melville has prepared a Marks & Spencer's ready meal, which we eat in the kitchen, round the oak table, largely in silence. The food sticks in my throat. Even Bethany is subdued. I'll be sleeping on the sofa in the living room, I say, when Bethany has left the room. We need to talk, says the physicist. There's nothing to say. I'll clear the dishes if you check on Bethany and lock the doors. Come on, Wheels. Let me show you the lake. She's flapping a white towel in my face. Through the blinds, there's already a striped glow of light. 8 o'clock at a guess. Come on, get moving. Let's get some air. The day stretches ahead. A day of stress, of waiting for the phone to ring, of avoiding the physicist. Give me 5 minutes, I say, and pull on a t-shirt. What are you doing, Bethany? You'll freeze. It's great, she yells. Bethany has hurled her clothes onto the narrow sloping beach. Naked, she is a pitiful amalgam of skin and bone. Be careful, I call out, but she's plunged into the lake and is dancing about in the shimmering water, oblivious. If it's stinging her and freezing cold, she doesn't let it show. Come on in, she screams, ecstatic. This is amazing. My first instinct is the sane one, to refuse. But I am perversely tempted. I'm more mobile and free in the water than anywhere else, and it's not far to the edge. I am shocked by the slap of cold, but don't let my momentum slow, merging into its chilly suck. Once submerged, I paddle a little way out, then float on my back, working my arms, savouring the harsh bliss of the water. Lost in my thoughts, I don't hear Bethany's approach. When she speaks, teeth chattering, her voice is right in my ear. I suppose Fraser will want to sleep with you again now Kristen's gone. Her tone is conversational. She could be commenting on the weather. I don't want to open my eyes, but I must if I'm to face whatever comes next. So you're going to let him? I guess you can't be choosy. I start working my arms, heading for the lake's edge, but she doesn't let up. He's into tits, isn't he? Yours are better than Kristen's, so you got that going for your wheels. Shame about the rest. Hey, you didn't really think he was in love with you? My arms are aching now, and the chill has penetrated my bones. I battle towards the shore, gulping in water. Why would anyone fall in love with a spaz? I told ya, she yells. He's into Kristen, you know it. Stop pretending you don't. If I drowned now, I wouldn't care. But I don't. I swim to the edge, fighting back the sobs, while Bethany explodes into ugly, high-pitched laughter and splashes her way to the opposite bank. Scrambling out and grabbing her towel, she runs stark naked towards the house. I drag myself out of the water to the safety of my chair and strip off. With the chair perched at an awkward angle on the concrete platform next to the mud bank, I fail to get into it, twice. By the third attempt, I am in tears. Lying naked in the mud, I imagine my body dissolving to become a part of the earth's crust, my flesh rotting and my bones fossilizing to rock. I hear a shout. Fraser Melville is calling my name. Wearily, I look up. He's running towards me from the direction of the house. He looks desperate. Trying to summon some dignity, I haul myself to a sitting position and cover up with the towel. What happened? What did she do? Did she hurt you? My God, you're freezing. Let me go, I shuck him off violently. You've had a shock. It's okay. I'm here. He looks puzzled and alarmed. You have to tell me what's going on, he pleads. What are you doing out here? Why are you acting like you hate me? Because I do hate you. And now I need his help to get into my chair, and I hate him for that too. He looks astonished, slapped, then horrified. But why? What have I done? You tell me. I haven't done anything. And I'm supposed to believe that when I saw you with her? When you saw me with who? With Kristen. Kristen? In your house. It was evening. You drew the blinds, and the next day you lied and said you'd been at the office. Yes, Kristen came to my house. I showed her Bethany's drawings and we talked, and that's all we did. Oh, I drew the blinds, which is obviously one of the classic signs of infidelity, he shouts. I didn't tell you about her because we realized we'd have to abduct Bethany, and I didn't want you to be part of it. I did it for you. How could you think? And Bethany said, but I can't say it. The tears and the rage are in the way. Bethany, you're trusting her, he shouts. We're both trusting her. That's why we're here, remember? But you believed her about me and Kristen? Doing what? Having an affair? How could you? He's furious, and it's genuine. So tell me it's not true, I yell. Stop it. Stop this. Look at me. I love you. Can't you see that? But I can't let it go. No, I can't see it. How could I? How could anyone? I can't feel anything down there. I don't care. Do you hear me? He's grabbed me by the shoulder and he's shaking me. I struggle to free myself, but he won't let go. I am fighting him off, even though I feel the truth, and I should be ashamed, because my anger is on its own unstoppable roll, and it's in control of me, roaring its way through until finally the tears burst out and I go limp. He holds me in his arms and kisses my hair and my face and my neck and tells me he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. He loves me. Every part of me. Bethany has flung herself on the sofa opposite me. She's scowling. I accept your apology, I say. I didn't apologize. I know. So I offered it on your behalf, and then I accepted it on mine. Fraser Melville enters with 2 cups of tea and places them on the table between us. Lapsang Souchong, he announces. I'll leave you to it. He closes the door quietly behind him. There is a silence. Then Bethany says, she used to do that. Who used to do what? My mum. She'd bring me a cup of tea. This is the first time she has mentioned her mother unprompted. She brought you cups of tea, but what kind of person was she? Something went very wrong between you. What was it like that evening? I don't know. How can't you know? When she speaks, her voice is barely audible. I was never good enough for them. Even when I believed in God, the Bible, Genesis, the whole bag of shit, I wasn't good enough. When she starts talking, it comes in a flood that catches me unawares. She gets tied to the stairs. They try to get the devil out of her, and then they tape up her mouth so the devil can't curse them, and they keep shaking her, but the devil won't come out, so they tie her up, and the next morning the devil's still there. So they shake her some more, and that goes on for 3 days, and they won't let her eat or sleep, and she's tied up the whole time, and the devil won't come out. I say, so that night, when your father was away, it was just you and your mother. I got one hand free, but as soon as I got the other hand loose, she comes in from the kitchen and starts screaming at me.
She stops me and she's going on about the devil and she won't shut up, and then she grabs me by the hair and starts shaking me and screaming at me that I'm an ungrateful, evil freak and why don't I just die? I'm on the floor, doubled up. There's a screwdriver just lying there. Like God put it there. Go on. So grab it and jam it into her. I try not to picture it, and it feels so good. There is a long silence. Then she turns to face me, her eyes vivid with pain. Your mother's job was to protect you. That's what parents are supposed to do. What they did to you was wrong. Gabrielle, she's whispering, I saw us. It's the first time she's used my name. I saw us. I saw you and me. Where did you see us? Up in the sky. But we went different ways. Where did we go? After the thunder, we went to the Golden Circle. Then we were caught up in the air, but you went to one place and I went to another. Bethany, we won't go different ways. I won't leave you. She shakes her head slowly. It's okay. You mustn't feel bad. About what? She seems to be looking right through me. About the way it ends. I enter the kitchen feeling dazed. I just spoke to Ned, says Fraser Melville, looking up from his laptop. How did it go with Bethany? When I give him a condensed account, he sighs heavily. Jesus, poor kid. What's the news from London? The bad news is that Ned says the other lobbying they've done has hit a brick wall. No one wants to believe it. But the rumour's spreading on the net. By the way, he says to watch the news. Bingo, whispers Bethany hoarsely from the doorway. She's huddled in a duvet, her face flushed as though she's woken from a nightmare. Look, she points at the screen. There's our rig. Shot from the air, Buried Hope Alpha looks like the ambitious, life-enhancing piece of engineering that it was no doubt conceived to be. Traxrack has absolutely nothing to hide here, says the rig's site controller. We've sent down a remote-controlled vehicle to assess the picture, but the first reports indicate that everything's as it should be down there. Blah, blah, says Bethany. Isn't methane one of the most dangerous greenhouse gases? The anchorman is asking. Sure, if it's not handled correctly, but we're extracting hydrates under controlled conditions. Our last normal day on Earth, says Bethany. I dispute the word normal. Might all happen sooner. Her face has a dark, riotous look. It happens everywhere, here and in the Golden Circle, and there came a rushing as of a mighty wind. The sea catches fire. I saw the end of the whole story. I saw Bethany land. I saw it with my own eyes. The phone rings. It's Ned, his voice urgent. Gabrielle, I'm sorry, but you have to leave now. They raided the anaesthetist's flat. Take the Nissan that's outside, keep an eye on the news, you've got a TV in there, head south towards London and we'll send a helicopter. Find somewhere we can land and send us the coordinates. We need to avoid the worst of the traffic chaos, I say, because once the story's out there's going to be a mass panic. We should head for the Thames estuary. Everyone else will be leaving it. Helicopters need space, says Fraser Melville. The Golden Circle, says Bethany. That's where we get caught up in the air. I saw it. Seconds later, on Fraser Melville's laptop, we have the British Isles seen from space. Now find it, I tell Bethany. There, she says, indicating a section of southeast London. Fraser Melville zooms in. Fraser Melville zooms in further until there's no mistaking it. I should have guessed. The Paralympics were held there some months after my accident. You could land a helicopter there easily, says Fraser Melville. He's been Googling. There's a concert next week, but nothing listed before then. It's empty. In the thrum of traffic, banality confers invisibility. A grey hybrid Nissan with a small pseudo-family inside it. We could be anyone. If we did somehow make it to safety, what kind of safety might that be? What kind of people live in these planetarian settlements? I ask Fraser Melville in an undertone. Farmers, doctors, engineers. The people you'd need. Physicists, paleontologists, pessimistic old farts, gay climatologists, messed up shrinks, Bethany offers from the back seat. And teenagers, for breeding purposes, right? I visited one in Canada once, said Fraser Melville. You have to get into a whole new way of thinking. He glances at the sat-nav. We'll be at the stadium in 2 hours. Ned called to say they would fetch us by helicopter from the centre of the stadium sometime after the press conference. He warned us to be careful. If a link is made between Bethany and what is about to happen, things will get ugly. As if they aren't now. We've entered a wilderness of low-cost housing, burger bars and wrecking yards. Fraser Melville points up at the sky where a flock of black birds is circling. Soon the air is dark with them. They're leaving, he says. Where to? I ask. Where can they possibly go? The news has a report about unusual dolphin and bird activity across the entire east coast of Britain. Meanwhile, the environmentalist Harish Murdoch will be holding a press conference at 1 o'clock to explain why he's drawing attention to Traxorac's methane rig in the North Sea. We drive on. As we approach London, a pale light, brittle as tinfoil, glints off warehouses and office blocks. We are still at least 40 miles from the stadium. Fraser Melville checks his watch. 2 o'clock. The story should be out. I flick on the BBC to a blare of theme music announcing the bulletin. When the screen fills with an aerial shot of buried hope, Fraser Melville thumps the steering wheel in delight. Scientists warn of a disaster in the North Sea set to strike Europe. The image switches to the press conference where Harish Murdoch, Ned Rappaport and Kristen Jonsdottir sit on a raised stage in a vast hall packed with journalists. They're claiming it's a global crisis. Now that the news is out, relief pulses through me. In the past hour, leading environmentalist Harish Murdoch has warned of a tsunami in the North Sea which could devastate northern Europe and submerge much of Britain. Ahead of us sprawls the cluttered, uneven skyline of London's periphery. In case of the Rapture, this vehicle may be unmanned, says Fraser Melville, pointing to the bumper sticker on the car ahead of us. He looks pensive. Turn to the God channel. I zap until I hit the worship workshop. The image switches to a young preacher addressing a crowd of worshippers. We're celebrating, people, he roars, thumping the air with his fist. We're mobilizing! The crowd roars back its applause. We're celebrating the good news! He addresses the camera. Bring your loved ones to God today. Tell them it's not too late to find salvation. Come and get blessed. Hand your soul over to Jesus and be part of the rapture. Okay, says Fraser Melville heavily. I think we get the picture. I zap through the channels, then stop and freeze when I see Bethany's face grinning back at me from the family photograph that I saw in her file at Oxsmith. In a new development, the abducted teenager Bethany Krall has been linked to the disaster alert. We exchange a look of dismay. I glance at the back seat. She's curled up in a blanket, fast asleep. Her father, the Reverend Leonard Krall, and her former therapist Joy McConey say the teenager predicted the catastrophe that Professor Murdoch says is imminent. They're urging anyone who sees Bethany to treat her with extreme caution. They're also asking the public to look out for her two abductors, Dr. Fraser Melville, a research physicist, and Gabrielle Fox, a former employee at the high-security facility where Bethany was confined. Abruptly, our faces, unflattering portraits from ID cards, fill the screen. Around us, the traffic is slowing down, but it shouldn't be. It doesn't make sense. We're not heading out of the capital, but into it. Then Leonard Krall appears. He's standing in front of a huge outdoor screen, flashing the message, "Are you Rapture ready?" As a Christian, I'm praying for Bethany, says the man who tipped me out of my wheelchair and left me helpless in the car park of his church. Why are so many other cars headed in the same direction as us? I will be praying for her here today, along with many thousands of others, as we await the glory that shall be ours. And why do so many of them have Christian bumper stickers? The camera pulls out, and we see where Leonard Krall is standing. I turn my head away from the screen and blink. It can't be. But it is. The Olympic Stadium has been transformed into a huge, impromptu worship centre. I whip round. Bethany is still sleeping. Did she know all along that this would happen? Did she engineer it? "Leave her. It doesn't matter. We'll find another place," says Fraser Melville. "Quick! Call Ned and tell him." There's no connection. The line is blocked. "Did you know your father would be at the stadium?" I ask as levelly as I can manage when Bethany awakes. "Sure, along with thousands of other people, all expecting the Rapture. I saw it." "The helicopter's landing there," I say quietly. My mouth is dry. Right in the middle of it, and there's nothing we can do but go there. Did you see that too, Bethany? "Hey, there it is!" yells Bethany. She's pointing ahead, her whole face alight with excitement. The colossal ziggurat rears up from its man-made island, dwarfing the crowds that swarm across the footbridges. We have arrived. We park, and I glance back at the concourse. The screen shows the banked tiers of seats within the stadium are filling steadily. If we want the helicopter to reach us, we have to go in, I say. Fraser Melville is pale. Our names and faces and crimes are being broadcast to the whole nation. With your wheelchair and the size of that new screen over there, I don't imagine we'll stay unnoticed for long. I snap open the mobile. I'll try Ned again. As I dial, there's a gasp from the back seat. Bethany is shuddering. "It started," she whispers. "I can feel it." Fraser Melville is staring at one of the huge TV screens on the stadium's outer concourse. She's right. Look. On Buried Hope Alpha, the journalists are shouting in alarm. A new image shows the entire lit-up rig bouncing furiously from left to right. Slowly and languorously, the angle of the whole edifice shifts, tilting sideways. There's a fierce flare of orange, and then the lights extinguish one by one. Within a space of 2 seconds, the entire rig has vanished, sucked silently beneath the waves. "I told you," whispers Bethany. A tall security guard materializes. I greet the man with a smile, offering him my hand. He doesn't take it. "I'm Gabrielle Fox. We've brought Bethany Krall." "So I see," he says. "She's a child we've heard a lot about in this community." Bethany hangs her head, and Fraser Melville puts a fatherly hand on her shoulder. "In that case, I'm sure you can guess why we've brought her here today." I keep smiling. "She wants to ask her father's forgiveness. We heard that Leonard was praying for Bethany here, so we came." This seems to throw him. I press it further. She wants to be part of the Rapture. They are escorting us out of the car park. Bethany is a few meters ahead, flanked by 2 minders. Fraser Melville and I follow, with a bulky, resolutely silent usher assigned to each of us. I lose sight of Bethany. Our 2 ushers are now fully engaged in clearing a way for us in the throng so that we can enter the stadium unimpeded. At the near end, ringed by the running track, the stage is a white, floodlit disc. "This way," says the female usher, directing me towards a row of seating at the front of the stage. Fraser Melville seats himself at the end of the row, and I position myself next to him in the aisle. Some people, unashamedly panicking, are barging against the surge of those still entering. Others are on their knees, eyes tight shut, praying intensely. I almost don't recognise Leonard Krall when he comes bounding along the aisle nearby and up the raised stage. His voice reverberates through the huge space and up into the darkening air. "The Rapture is upon us. The Lord be praised. This is a day like no other." There's wild applause. Krall pauses, and his face shifts. "But today is not all about us and our joy. Let me tell you something else." He looks up and turns slowly. "Today, God sent a challenge to us. He draws in a deep breath. "And I will confess it to you now, folks, a particular challenge to me." "Oh no," says Fraser Melville. "Bethany. She's climbing the steps to the platform." "It's Bethany Krall!" shrieks a woman from somewhere behind me. "It's his daughter! She killed her own mother! She has the devil in her!" "At least we know where she is," I murmur to Fraser Melville. Leonard Krall stands tall. He gestures at the audience to hush. "Have no fear, people. Welcome my darling Bethany, my beloved daughter, my blessed child." Bethany smiles back at him. Her voice chokes as she utters simply, "Dad." Krall raises his voice. "Yes, this is my daughter, people, my darling Bethany. To my great joy, she has cast out the devil and expressed the wish to return to God." He lifts his voice to a shout. "Praise be!" Bethany's smile widens as she lifts her face upward as if to heaven. Her eyes gleam. "Has the devil left you? Speak." He raises his hands in the air. "Tell them, Bethany. Tell everyone." "It's true I had something inside me," she says. "Something terrible. Mum and Dad kept trying to get rid of it. Isn't that right, Dad?" Leonard Krall nods. "We did our best, your mother and I, God rest her beloved soul. In the end, they had to strip my clothes off and tie me to the stairs for 3 days instead of just a couple of hours." The woman next to me catches her breath. "Now, I can see some of you were shocked, but it was for my own good, wasn't it, Dad?" Leonard Krall steps forward, clearly horrified, but she raises a hand to stop him. "You had to leave me there for 3 whole days. You couldn't let me eat or sleep. That's how strong your love was." Krall is staring at his daughter, open-mouthed. "Bethany, you know it wasn't like that." "Yes, it was, but it didn't work, did it?" Her face is bright with rage. "So you and Mum started shaking my head. Do you remember that? That's how you get the devil out, right? You take it in turns to grab your kid's head. And you shook it so hard it felt like my brains would spill out. But you still couldn't get rid of the evil thing. It's still in there, Dad. You know why? Because it's not the devil. It's me. It's Bethany. I'm Bethany all the way through. There's no devil in there, and there's no God. There's me, and that's all. There's just me." With a loud crumpling sound, the microphone is abruptly unplugged. On Krall's shocked nod, 2 security guards come and grab her. But with a sharp movement, Bethany escapes the men's grip and breaks into a run. Then, with no warning, a violent muscle spasm halts her as crudely as the slam of a bullet, throwing her to the ground. She is fitting again. She lies on the floor, her body jerking epileptically. As her flailing limbs relax, Krall grabs a microphone, energized. "The devil is still in her," he shouts. "We must get him out. Pray for her, people. Pray for my daughter." Fraser Melville grabs my arm. He's indicating something with an upward jerk of his head. I can hear it in the distance, growing louder. The pulsing whir of a helicopter. "You go and get her," I tell Fraser Melville. "It'll land at the far end of the stadium. I'll catch up with you." He nods. "I love you, Gabrielle." "I know, But he's disappeared into the crowd. I am at the far side of the stage now, still heading towards the empty end of the stadium where the helicopter is circling to land. Men jump out. I recognise Ned. I scream at him. Behind him is Kristen. Ned hasn't seen me in the gathering gloom. He seizes Bethany from Fraser Melville's outstretched arms, then lifts her up to one of the men inside. I shove at my wheels with all my force, but I'm losing the fight. Behind me I can hear the thump of feet as the crowd surges in. Fraser Melville has seen me and is running towards me. He turns and sinks to his knees, his back facing me so I can fling my arms around his neck. We stumble towards the helicopter. I'm hauled up bodily by 3 of the men inside who land me like a sack. Fraser Melville is lying on the floor of the helicopter, collapsed and panting. The aircraft shifts. There's a wide lurch, and then we are rising, jerkily. Then another upward tug, and the strangely angled ground is dropping away beneath us. In the belly of the aircraft, Kristen is sitting with Bethany's head in her lap. The helicopter's engine is still straining, a wild metallic shriek. Kristen is pointing outside. The sky has marbled and darkened. Then comes a deafening, unworldly boom. With a sudden colossal force, a series of jolts buffets the helicopter from side to side. I look across to the open mouth of the aircraft. Beyond the lit crescent of the stadium, the sea is pulling back in a ferocious, sucking rush of spume, exposing hectares of glittering sand and rock. Then, on the horizon, a wide orange flare flickers and pulsates beneath the dome of the sky. At first it looks like a glassy mountain ridge has shot up from the exposed sand of the recast shoreline. But it's a sheer wall of water. It blots out the clouds. Its base is dark, almost black. It's topped by plumes of dancing, spritzing white. The giant wave, more beautiful and more terrifying in its generous grandeur than anything I could dream, is hurtling towards us. I've nearly reached Bethany now. She blinks rapidly and musters a pained mouth twitch of recognition. She reaches over and places her hand, bony as a bird's claw, on my belly. I just felt it. Inside you, our little friend. How's that for bad timing? I don't get it. I glance across at Fraser Melville, his face drained of all colour. And I realise what Bethany has said. The truth of it. Of course. Oh, Christ. Not now. My heart free falls. And then, with no good reason on earth, lifts. You know where you're going with that baby? Bethany asks. I nod. In that tiny glimmer of time, I feel that I have known all along. Her mouth is straining. Behind the distortion of pain, there's something that you could mistake for ecstasy. She's looking out into the bleach-bone nothingness of the air outside, a throb of dizzying white. With a deep-throated bellow, the wave gushes across the landscape, turning buildings and trees to matchwood in an upward rush of spume. As the force catapults us upward, the scene shrinks to brutal eloquence, a vast carpet of glass unrolling, incandescent, with powdery plumes of rubble shooting from its edges, part solid, part liquid, and part gas, a monstrous concoction of elements from the pit of the Earth's stomach. It's wonderful, says Bethany. You'll remember it forever. You'll remember me too. I know you will. We'll land somewhere safe. We'll get you treated, I'm saying. The helicopter begins to arc in a new direction. I realise I have misunderstood her. Bethany, no! I slam my arm out to stop her, but she has started to roll. It's an almost languid movement. Her eyes are wide open. She knows what she is doing. I scream, but against the shriek of the engine no one hears me. Bethany keeps rolling until she has rolled to the very edge of the world, and then over it. My eyes trace the arc of the falling girl silhouetted against the blinding brightness below. First she is a comma, and then a speck, and then a burning shard gulped into the abyss, and then nothing. With a lunge, Fraser Melville has shot across and grabbed me. He grips me to his chest, squeezing a great wail out of me, a cry that will echo across the rest of my life, because I know already there will be no green fields in Bethany Land, no safe place for a child to play. Nothing but burnt rock and blasted earth, a struggle for water, for food, for hope. And there will be no Bethany. From the crush of Fraser Melville's arms, I look out onto the birthday of a new world. A world a child must enter. A world I want no part of.
The Rapture was written by Liz Jensen and read by Denise Black. The producer was Clive Brill, and The Rapture is a Pacificus production for BBC Radio 4.